I love speaking to people that can show us a new perspective, how to live in an alternative way, and to manage the world's current situation. This special guest is a filmmaker, an ocean adventurer, an underwater cinema photographer, and filmmaker. He's on a 12-meter catamaran called Barefoot, with a crew of 6 and enough fuel and provisions for months at sea. Let's welcome to the show our guest, Dean Cropp.
My name's Captain Dean, and just like you, I need to self-isolate to help beat this Corona-19 pandemic. And I've chosen to self-isolate on my boat. That's because this is my home, and I've brought my crew with me. And I want you to join us as we escape into isolation. Because we've left so early, we had to get out so quickly. There's a lot of maintenance we still haven't done on the boat, and we're starting to do that now and finding a few problems.
I love my downtime. I'm very calm and peaceful, and I like to just relax and self-reflect and very much enjoy my alone time as well.
I don't even know if they know what they're doing. Like, seriously.
So we're going to start the engine, and it absolutely must work or we're all so let's take out the spur.
And we're back, sailing again, engines running smoothly, and the next spot we're going to is Point Perpendicular.
It's so beautiful. It's the stuff of dreams. It's amazing how different the landscape changes when you move down the coast or up the coast.
We may as well socialise with seals.
Say good night.
Hello, and we seem to have lost Dean. Maybe some, I don't know what's going on. It might be the Wi-Fi connection. It so often happens when we're at sea, or perhaps, yeah, I'm not really sure. They could have some technical difficulties, or maybe the connection's not tying up with the generator. I'm not really sure. That's unusual. For those of you that are joining me, my name is Tais Froggatt, and you're joining into the Lifestyles with Tais show. Dean!
Hey,
we got you.
How you going? You have. We are out floating around in the middle of nowhere, and that's something about electronics, you know, out on the ocean. Nothing ever works properly as it's supposed to. You've always got to be ready for anything. So I think we've got it sorted now. You can hear me fine?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. No, that's great. I thought I'd lost you there. Fab. Okay. Well, this is our guest. This is Dean Cropp. And welcome. So tell us, what are you up to? What are you guys doing?
Well,
I want to hear all about it.
Well, I've been a TV producer and worked in television for many, many years, and I sort of had a sea change. I sold my house, I quit my day job, and I completely changed my life so I could go exploring and sailing around parts of Australia, the Coral Sea, and a large part of what allows me to do that, I still do television work, but I run my boat as a charter boat here in Sydney Harbour all through summer. And when COVID-19 landed on our doorstep, it pretty much ended all of our charter work. And overnight, all my film charter work dried up, and we were looking down the barrel of some really serious lockdown measures that were pretty much going to allow us to go nowhere. And so in about, well, less than 10 days, I got my crew together, we got food on the boat, we filled up with fuel, we got everything ready, and we went. We headed out the gate, we headed out of Sydney Harbour, and we've gone exploring. That's what we're going to keep doing. While we can't work, we're just going to keep exploring. We're going to escape into isolation and really take this idea of isolation to another level. You know, we're isolating with seals and with sharks, and it's going to be just us on this boat exploring the ocean. It's what I love to do, so it wasn't a hard choice to make, really.
Wow. Okay. So what have you seen so far that we'd love to hear about?
Well, we've got a couple of episodes up now you can check out on YouTube, and you showed a bit of our episode 1. We started by sailing down the coast, down south to Jervis Bay. Jervis Bay is an amazingly beautiful place, and I think so many people in Sydney and around New South Wales don't understand what an amazing place they have right there on their doorstep. You know, it's really quite remote. It was a perfect place to isolate. We're able to hang out with all these beautiful seals and go through caves and dive with fish. And it's such an exciting place to explore and a perfect place to start our isolation. The key of what we needed to do was stay near the coast for about 10 to 14 days to make sure none of us on board had COVID-19. Because if any of us did get sick, we wanted to be close enough to a hospital that we could get them to some help if they got really sick. And so we've stayed isolated along the coast for those 14 days. And then we got to that point, and by the stage we knew we were COVID free. We were up a bit north of Seal Rocks. And at that point, we turned right and we headed out to sea. And we headed out to this place called Middleton Reef. It is a super, super remote coral reef system. It's the most coral reef system in the world. It's just north of Lord Howe. It's completely protected. You can't fish there, and hardly anyone ever goes there. It's just too remote for most people to get there. But it's full of shipwrecks and sharks and beautiful fish life, and it's a beautiful lagoon in the middle that's really not, it's a really good anchorage. So I knew that we could survive there through most weather and survive there for a long time. And that's where we went. And we've pretty much spent the last 5 weeks out there before coming back to the coast. Now we're heading up looking for what the next adventure is going to be. And well, we're back in reception now so that we can talk to you, which is great.
Thank you very much. When you went out to the island or Lord Howe and swimming with seals, did you see anyone else out there, or was it just you lot?
Well, when we were down in Jervis Bay, we did see a few other boats. We're pretty keen to stay completely isolated on the boat. We wanted to maintain that sort of COVID-19 security, not give it to anyone else and not have it come on board. And so we stayed very much isolated on the boat. We did get visited by the federal police down there. They wanted to see, make sure that we weren't coming from overseas, make sure we understood the rules. They were happy for us to stay isolated on the boat as long as we didn't come ashore. And we're pretty happy with things going forward. When we headed out to Middleton, no, we saw absolutely 0 people out there. One interesting fact, I'm not completely sure if it's true, but I like it anyway. Middleton Reef, they say that more people have been shipwrecked on Middleton Reef than have gone there on purpose. That's how isolated it is. It's really unknown. People have no idea it exists. It's right on the very outside edge of Australian territorial waters, and it's not really on the way to go anywhere. So very few boats go there. We saw absolutely no one there, but we still had plenty of friends out there. We would be followed on most dives by 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 sharks. So there was lots of animals to be our friends, to keep us interested, and you know, we could socialize with sharks, just not people out there.
How many days did it take for you to sail there?
So it takes about 3 days to sail out there. It's about 880 kilometers from Sydney, about 500 nautical miles. It's a long way away to get out there. In 3 days, you know, we were lucky. We did have quite good weather on our way out there. But in 3 days, weather can change very quickly. We were lucky. We left when there was quite a bit of wind, and we were able to sail quite well for the first half of our trip out there. And then it got calmer and calmer as we got closer to Middleton Reef. And that was on purpose. I really wanted to get there when it was super calm, because that allowed us to explore more and more of the reef. There's big shipwrecks there that we could get up close to when it was calm, and we could get inside the reef easily. And we were really able to explore the whole place. There's a huge shipwreck there called the Runic that was a refrigerated cargo liner that crashed into the reef in the 60s. There's also some ships there that crashed on the reef in the 1800s. There's heaps of history. But our favourite thing, our absolute favourite, is all the sharks and the fish and the underwater wildlife that's out there, and the coral reef. It is the most southern coral reef system in the world, completely protected, and it's totally pristine because no one can go there. It's so far from the coast. It doesn't get affected by anything that happens here on land, and a perfect place to isolate.
Wow, you've really been an absolute inspiration for us. So are you still on board with the same crew? How has been the trials and tribulations of that? Is everyone getting along?
Yeah, well, I chucked them all off the boat so I could do this because they're very distracting. They're off doing their own thing at the moment. We're actually in the middle, because we're in a calm anchorage now. We are doing a whole lot of maintenance, fixing the boat. We're sort of getting ourselves ready again to head offshore. So we're sort of working on things, fixing things. We're having a little bit of a rest because when you're offshore, it is quite exhausting. And being a little exhausting, yeah, you can test each other's patience. Yeah, it's not always smooth sailing when you're talking about people. I can predict the weather pretty well, but predicting the way people act and react to different situations is not so easy for a captain, and it is the hardest part. I think sailing is easy. People aren't always the easiest. We did have, some disagreements and some trouble, but if you're having a hard time, you throw your mask and snorkel on and jump in and swim with the sharks and play around with the black cod and follow some fish around. And it's amazing how much better you can feel just by getting out there and exploring, and you get back on the boat and the world doesn't seem so tough anymore.
No, absolutely not. Wow. Okay, so that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dean. You have been an absolute treat for us today. I certainly can't wait to watch what you're up to next. And we'll make sure to follow you and the crew on the Adventures on YouTube channel, Escape into Isolation. So thank you, Dean, and goodbye.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for talking to me. It's great to talk to some other people that aren't just my crew at the moment.
You're very,
and hopefully
very
next time I'll get to show you. Hopefully next time I'll get to show you around barefoot.
Yes, please. That would be great. We want to see where you live, and I guess the confined space, the cabins, where you eat. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you
and that's
so
all
much.
in here. We've got galley and 4 cabins, and it's quite a lot of space, and it's quite a nice boat, but it can feel very small when you're out at sea for 6 weeks or a few months at a time. Look forward to updating you with the next adventure.
I'd love that. We'd love that very much. Okay, thank you so much, Dean.
Bye.